Most China relocation mistakes do not start with a bad answer. They start with a question asked too late. The question may be reasonable. The person may be serious. The employer may be cooperative. The family may be prepared emotionally. But if the question is asked after flights are booked, after an apartment is chosen, after a contract is signed, or after the entry timeline has started, the answer may no longer be flexible. This episode is a checklist of 10 questions foreigners often ask too late. Question 1. Can I enter first and solve work status later? This is risky thinking. Entry and work authorization are not the same. A person may be physically in China but still not be authorized to work. The work status route usually needs China-side preparation before the overseas visa step, and post-entry procedures after arrival. If the person enters first without the right file, the later options may be narrower than expected. Question 2. Can a tourist or business visit become a work arrangement? Tourist status, business visit status, and work status should not be treated as interchangeable. Meeting people, exploring the market, or attending discussions is not the same as taking employment in China. If a person starts working without proper authorization, illegal employment risk can appear, including fines and possible detention in serious cases. Question 3. What if the employer has never hired a foreigner? Employer readiness matters before the foreigner commits to timing. The company may be legitimate and still not prepared for foreign hiring. It may need the right qualification, system access, business license consistency, employment contract setup, HR ownership, seals, and document handling ability. If the employer only starts learning after the candidate has resigned from a previous job or booked travel, the timeline becomes fragile. Question 4. What if my degree or no criminal record document is not ready? Some documents are long lead items. Degree authentication, no criminal record preparation, translations, notarization, authentication, old name issues, and document validity can take longer than expected. The problem is not only whether the document exists. The problem is whether it exists in the form the China side work status file needs, at the time the file needs it. Question 5. Can my own company sponsor me? Company registration does not automatically create founder work authorization. A founder-owned WFOE may be part of the route, but the company still needs to support a credible employment story, real operation, defined role, salary, payroll, tax records, address, business activity, and timing after registration. A company can exist on paper, but still be too thin to support the founder immediately. Question 6. Can my spouse work on dependent status? Dependent or family status does not automatically allow work. If a spouse wants to work in China, that is a separate work status question. It needs its own employer, role, qualification logic, and procedure path. Treating family status as a backdoor to employment can create avoidable risk. Question 7. Do I need housing before residence procedures? The answer is not only about comfort. Housing affects accommodation registration, address records, residence permit handling, family planning, and sometimes school planning. A temporary address may help the person land, but it may not support the full post-entry chain. The first address should be planned before arrival, not improvised after the clock starts. Question 8. What if the company address changes? A company move can affect more than office logistics. Employer address, business license records, tax records, bank records, work permit files, employment contracts, and residence records may all need to stay consistent. If a company moved during the year and renewal is approaching, the address change becomes a status question, not only an admin update. Question 9. How early should renewal planning start? Often, around 60 days before expiry is a practical planning anchor. Renewal is not a repeat of last year's file. It is a review of the current file. Employer changes, passport changes, title changes, salary changes, residence address changes, and family dependency can all matter. Question 10. Which question should I ask before booking flights? Ask this. What must be completed before entry? What must happen overseas? And what must happen in the first 30 days after arrival? This one question forces the whole chain into view. This is what a late question looks like in practice. A foreign professional accepts an offer in China. The employer says it will handle the visa. The employee books travel, gives notice at the previous job, and starts planning the move. Only later do they discover that the employer has never sponsored a foreigner. The degree authentication is not ready. The family plan depends on the main applicant's status, and the first address has not been checked for accommodation registration. The questions were not wrong. They were asked after the timeline had already become tight. The framework to save is ask before you commit. 1. Status rote. Do you know what legal status the person needs, not just how they enter? 2. Employer readiness. Can the employer support the file before the candidate commits? 3. Long lead documents. Are degree, criminal record, authentication, and translations already mapped? 4. Family limits. Do spouse and children have their own status and timing questions? 5. Housing and timing. Can the first address, registration, medical route, and 30-day landing sequence work? The lesson: in China, planning, a late question can become a real constraint. Ask the status questions before the move becomes irreversible. The move becomes real when you choose where to live. For foreigners in China, a rental decision can affect status records, costs, and family planning.